Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2024 Ford Explorer Timberline. Up front is a 2.3 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, I'm super excited to be driving this Ford Explorer Timberline for two reasons. First of all, this is the outgoing generation of the Ford Explorer. It's been redone for 2025, so we'll talk about some of those differences throughout the car. It's also the off-road trim, the Timberline, which was special and came with different front fascia, some fog lights, chunkier, beefier tires, a little bit more ride height and things like that. And so we'll be doing not only some comparing, but figuring out if this was worth the price tag. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you would like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 2.3 liter turbo under the hood. Well, that is kind of Ford's bread and butter engine of the modern era, or of the current era of which I'm filming. We saw this engine debut back in the day with the EcoBoost Mustang, but it expanded to the Ford Ranger. It's expanded to the Explorer. And although it had some teething issues when it first debuted, it seems to be holding its own now. They're relatively reliable. They put out a decent amount of horsepower that I'll put up on the screen, and I like it. You would think a big three-row SUV would really suffer having a four-cylinder turbo, but we've seen it in the Subaru Ascent. We've seen it in the Mazda CX-9, which those are good options, but we've also seen it in the Chevy Traverse. Not a good option. Buick uses it in their three-row SUV, and those are not good. So we have a little strip of road here. Let's figure out what's what. Totally fine. Totally adequate. I do not feel like I have any lacking qualities here. It's nice. It drives well, and it is a four-cylinder. Yes, it's a Focus RS engine at the end of the day, but it moves this thing in a good manner, and that's really nice to see and can't be said across the entire lineup of three-row SUVs. Like I said, paired to it is a 10-speed automatic transmission, another kind of bread and butter system for Ford. They use this in a lot of their vehicles, and it's fine. It works. Last but not least, this particular Explorer is four-wheel drive. However, the platform of the Explorer is actually rear-wheel drive setup. It's a rear-wheel drive bias platform, and if you do buy a two-wheel drive Explorer, it will actually come in rear-wheel drive, which I found to be kind of interesting. How does it feel to drive the Timberline Ford Explorer? Drives nice. I don't feel any of the downsides that usually come with more hardcore off-roady suspension and tires. I don't get much extra road noise. Of course, there's going to be a slight whisper more than a regular street tire, but honestly, with me talking, I can't hear it over my own voice, so that's a good thing. The suspension also doesn't feel much stiffer. Although it is taller, it's not necessarily stiffer, which is, again, nice to see. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a mix of physical and digital gauges. Off to the left, I have a tachometer and coolant gauge. And off to the right, we have the speedometer and fuel. But then in the center, we get our digital screen. This gives you a lot more information. You can swipe through and things like that, which I really, really like. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our adaptive cruise and lane keep assist, as well as our volume and mute. And off to the right, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our skip track. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent. We have a special little pattern here for the Timberline. Headlight switches, gauge dimmer switch, and this little light. You can actually turn on these additional fog lights found in the grille. This was an option and only an option on the Timberline. But when you turn it on, this little 80s looking light actually illuminates to let you know that your auxiliary lights are on. Very, very funny, and something you really don't see anymore. Moving on to the door, we do have our lock and unlock, which is surrounded by a B&O speaker. The B&O sound system is wonderful. Big fan of it. And down below, we have our power mirrors and power windows. Moving into the center, we get the infotainment screen. This is not the biggest I've ever seen. This is the smaller screen, and definitely smaller than the newer Ford Explorer. However, I think it works really well. I like Ford's interface. I think it's pretty simple to use, which is nice. And here's the backup camera. However, this car would have been optioned with a 360 camera, but actually due to part supply issues when this car was built, they couldn't put the 360 camera in it. So on the window sticker, the purchaser actually got a $500 rebate because they couldn't put the 360 camera into it. Kind of interesting there. So you might find a Timberline with a 360 camera. This one doesn't have it. Down below, we do have a little cubby. We have our radio and tune knobs, as well as our skip track and hazard switch. And then we have our climate controls. This is a big change over the new Explorer, or should I say the new Explorer has changed from this, because this actually has physical climate controls. And I love that. I love physical climate controls. The 2025 Ford Explorer has moved to all digital climate controls within the screen. I don't like that. So this is definitely the way to go, and we do have heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Then we do have a little cubby that has USB-A and USB-C, and we come to the center console. Off to the left is the rotary dial shifter. Simple, easy to use, and I like it. Power parking, brake and brake hold, and our drive modes. So we have deep snow and sand, trail, slippery, normal, eco, sport, and trailering. I love the designs and I love the animations that come up when you select these different modes. However, they have been updated for 2025, and I think they're more appealing in the 2025 model, but that's not to say that these aren't great. We do have hill descent control, as well as traction control and auto start stop down here as well, and we have cup holders off to the right, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and unfortunately, yet somewhat predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we get a wireless charger kind of hidden from your line of sight. We get a center console and the seats. The seats are made out of a special water-resistant material for the Timberline edition. You're gonna get it dirty, you're gonna get it messy, and so that is very nice to see. They're comfortable, heated, and I don't have any issues with it. However, speaking of seats, because this is a Ford Explorer, we do have 2 more rows of seating. So let's go do some backseat reviews. All right, so we're in the second row of the 2024 Ford Explorer Timberline, and a couple of things to note. First of all, as it is, I have tons and tons of space. This is private jet levels of space, and that's really nice to see. Now, off to my left, your right, you can see this is how child seats fit if you are a family and looking for this as a family vehicle, as the owners of this vehicle are. They fit really nice in here, which is fantastic. Down below, I do have 2 USB-Cs as well as a wall outlet. I get my own climate controls. I get my own heated seats. I get cup holders in the doors, power windows, of course, and I get a center aisle. So this is a massive win, pun intended, for the back space because there is a lot of it. However, there is a third row, so let's hop back there. All right, in the very back of the Ford Explorer, it's not as good. Definitely not as good as up there. However, these seats can go forward and back, so a passenger could be nice and move up, although I don't think a 5-month-old would have the language capacity to understand me going, "Hey, move your seat up!" There would probably be a lot of crying following that. But I can be back here again if these were moved up. I could live back here, but these seats also aren't meant for people like me. These seats are for kids, and the kids love it back here. They fit back here perfectly fine, which is definitely nice to see. I do get cup holders, so I guess I get an amenity, one single amenity, but nothing really crazy beyond that. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Ford Explorer Timberline, come up here. The rear tailgate button is actually off to the right. There is a little arrow to tell you that, but I always end up forgetting it. Once we are in here, a couple of things to note. We do have buttons to lower the seats. However, as I mentioned, there are child seats in them, so I can't really do that. And down here, we do have some storage down below. I love that it says Explorer on it, and we have some obvious storage there. With the seats down, you get tons and tons of cargo space. Really nice to see all that. I can put just that one down because there's no child seat in it as the wind picks up. So to give you a general idea. However, you can press it again and it'll come right back up. So very nice to see that. We also have up here a tailgate and a locking button, but we'll just do the tailgate button for now. Nice, simple, and easy. right back down. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and as I mentioned, the Timberline actually has some additional accents that the normal Explorer didn't get, like a different front fascia, those fog lights, some Timberline little accents here and there, the bright tow hooks, things like that. But I think the overall look of this generation of Explorer was pretty handsome. I think it's a lot more reserved than the newer one, and because, as I mentioned, I actually have an ST 2025 Explorer as a press loan during the week of filming this car, I can actually put them side by side for some strawberries and cream comparison. Now, to be fair, this is a Timberline versus an ST, so the ST is going to have sportier accents, Timberline's going to have more off-roady accents, so it's not a complete apples-to-apples comparison, but you can at least get some idea of the difference in styling cues between the generations. I was also taking a flight recently, and O'Hare Airport uses Ford Explorers, so here's some other generations as well, in case you were curious. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2024 Ford Explorer Timberline? Well, I like it a lot. If I had to pick a downside, I really like the engine. I've been driving the 3-liter twin turbo all week, so coming down to the 4-cylinder is a little bit of a hop down, but as an engine on its own, I think it's good. It fits this platform well, and I don't mind it. I would like a bigger screen, just a little bit bigger. This does feel a little bit cheap and flimsy, but that does come with issues all its own, so again, something to be weighed. At the end of the day, I really like this car. I think it does a lot of things really well. It is a soft off-roader, meaning you could take this down a trail, you can get to a hiking spot, you could do a little bit of camping with it, but don't expect to be climbing Moab or taking it through Hell's Gate anytime soon, although it actually might do it somewhat well. This is for an active lifestyle family, and I mean both parts of that, not only active lifestyle with the knobbier tires, the slightly lifted suspension, and added fog lights, but also the family aspect of that sentence, because it is a 3-row. The interior space is massive and accommodating to any family. The owner, Ted, has 3 kids. He just welcomed twins into this world about 5 months ago, and so they purchased this to carry the family around. And he said it's been wonderful. He said that they love it, and that's fantastic to see. And just to push it a little bit further, I kind of like the older style a little bit better. Mainly those physical climate controls. That's a big deal to me. I like when climate controls are actually physical because I don't have to cancel my navigation or mess with my music just to get to another page. I really like this SUV. I think it's done very well. I just like it at the end of the day. Is that such a sin? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Ted for letting me borrow his Ford Explorer Timberline for today's video. Ted has been absolutely wonderful. I have fully lost track of how many vehicles of his I have reviewed. He's wonderful. I appreciate him very much, and I'm sure work together again in the future. But as the sun is blinding me, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.